Hi students, coming to the next prescriptive process model, that is a RAD model. So in the previous videos I explained about the waterfall model and the incremental model. Those comes under the prescriptive process model, and now coming to the third one, that is a RAD model. Okay, so actually this RAD, it is an incremental model. We call it also, means the extension for this incremental model. It is an incremental model that emphasizes on extremely short development cycle. So whenever we are dealing with the short development cycle, it's better to go for the RAD model rather than going for the incremental model. Okay, let me write that. It is an incremental model that emphasizes on extremely short. So it is you have to consider the projects which are taking a small duration of time to complete the project or to deploy the project. The development cycle, that is from for example, you can take 60 to 90 days. If you want to develop a product within this 16 to 90 days, it's better to go for the RAD model of implementing the project for communication, planning, modeling and construction deployment. It's better to go for the RAD model by using rather than using the incremental model. So now before discussing about what is a RAD model, now let us see what are the phases that are present in RAD model. The different phases that are present in RAD is, just like everything, the communication is first. The communication phase, the user, the customer and the developers are interacting with each other, so that the customer can give the specifications to the user, means the requirements to the developer. The customer or the user is giving the requirements to the developer, so the developer can develop the project. So that will be done in the communication stage. So after taking the specifications and requirements, the developer is ready to planning the project. So the next stage is the planning. So planning, it includes all the documentation, everything in the form of whatever the user is asking. So that will be placed in the form of documentation. So the planning includes from starting to ending, means the size of the project and the resource that we are using and the maintenance cost it takes, the error cost it is taking, everything will be present in this planning section only. So after planning, the developer is trying to model the project. Modeling includes, so here the modeling in the RAD model, the modeling will be of the modeling includes business modeling, based on the usage of the customer, as based on the person who is developing the process. For understanding, they can go different types of modelings. They can introduce the business modelings, they can take the data modeling. Only the modeling can be used for the clear cut of the product or the clear cut of the process. Business modeling, data modeling and process modeling. So any one of the modeling can be included, or all the three can be included. So business modeling and the data modeling is just like a data objects that you are going to be used in the data, and the process modeling is here the data objects are transformed to implement a business functions. So for modeling, they required all these three to implement the project. And next stage is the construction. So in the construction, they try to write the code. So but here the RAD model will use the fourth generation techniques to write the construction code. It follows the fourth generation techniques. And the final is the deployment. So after everything, this is the deployment. So whatever the model you are taking, whatever the phases you are taking, so every phase will follow these steps. First, you have to communicate with the person. Next, you try to plan the project. And next, you try to model the project. Next, construction and deployment. So everything will be like this. So the names are changing. Just in place of construction, we can write the implementation like that. So modeling, planning, and this is the activity like that. Okay. So let me draw the diagram of RAD model so that you can understand what exactly the RAD will be differ from the increment. So this is the team 1. The team 1 first go for the business modeling. So after taking the specifications from the customer, means the communication and planning, they try to model the project. The modeling can be, each team will be model the each module. So first they try to build the business modeling of the planning. Next they try to build the data modeling. Next, process modeling. After that, so after modeling, they try to generate the code, that is application generation, implementation, application generation. Next, testing and turnover. Testing and turnover means handovering the project. So this is the team 1 is going to do this type of technique. Next, in the same way, the team 2. So team 2, business modeling, data modeling, process modeling, next application generation, next testing and turnover. Okay, so like that the team 3 also like that. So it will be divided into different teams. Here the this RAD model uses multiple teams on scalable projects. So whatever the project they are divided into teams, and each team is performing their own functions to implement the code, means to implement the module. So it's just an incremental model, it's just like an incremental model, but the main difference is this RAD will be used only for the small projects. So those projects, those processes that you need to submit within the cycle of 60 to 90 days, then it's better to go for the RAD model rather than using the incremental model. So let me write the points. This RAD, it uses component based structure. The first thing is it uses components based construction and emphasis reuse and code generation also. And next, it uses multiple teams, on scalable performance, on scalable projects. Not performance, sorry, the projects. So this RAD model uses multiple teams, team 1, team 2, team 3, like that, uses multiple teams on scalable project. And then it requires heavy resource. It requires heavy resource. Why it requires heavy resource? Because each team is working on the same project, the team 1, team 2, team 3. So the manpower, it has to be increased in by using the RAD model. Why we required more manpower? Because we had to submit the project within 60 to 90 days. So it requires heavy resource. And requires developers to write the code, everything. Required developers and customers who are heavily committed. What it means? Means you have a commitment between the customer and the developer. Suppose if this developer is doing this project by using the RAD application, means RAD model, means they have to be committed in that project only, so that he can full-fledged work on that project, and he is try to complete within those days. So those person that has to be dedicated to that project only. So requires developers and customers who are heavily committed. And performance can be a problem here by using the RAD model. Performance can be a problem, and also it is difficult to use with new technologies also. Let me write that point also. Difficult to use with new technologies. So this is about the RAD model. Thank you.